Good evening. I'm here to discuss your child's rights with you, in particular, your child's rights in the IEP process. I want to make it clear from the beginning, before I dive into the more substantive parts of this, that your involvement is incredibly important to this, that you only have 2 years under the law to take action if your rights are in any way injured, and that schools have an obligation to keep you informed at every step of this process. And finally, again, I want to make it very clear that the most important part of this whole process is you and your input. So the basic process that I'll be going over with you is the recommendation, followed by an evaluation, the IEP, and the NORAP. Initially, a child is recommended for evaluation. After this, a written evaluation is performed. If an IEP is found to be appropriate and you agree an IEP is created, the IEP will be updated every year. The NORAP, or Notice of Recommended Educational Placement, is created with each new IEP, and there's a reevaluation of your child every 3 years or upon request. To get into more detail on this, first we'll talk about the recommendation. You, another family member, a teacher, or anyone who's interested has the right to recommend your child for an evaluation. The school must provide you with a form to get your permission to evaluate and a notice of procedural safeguards, which is created by the state and should be provided to you by the school. You have the right to refuse the evaluation if you don't think it's right for your child, or if you have any other reason for refusing. After the recommendation, your child will be evaluated, if you agree. The school should take all of your input to help with this evaluation process. You know your child better than anyone else, so the more input you give, the better. Within 60 days of the recommendation, you'll be given a written evaluation of your child. Following this evaluation, you and the school psychologist will have a chance to meet, and if you agree that an IEP is appropriate for your child, this school will move on to the IEP process. In the IEP process, you provide the school, again, with all the information you can about your child's behavior, strengths, and needs. The school must send you an invitation to the IEP meeting, and the invitation will also tell you who else will be at the IEP meeting. I'll go into a little bit more information on the IEP meeting in just a moment, but try as hard as you can to actually attend this meeting. The more input you can give, the more you can be there to monitor the process, the better things will work out for your child. And if you can't actually physically be at the meeting, you can call in teleconference to be a part of the meeting. And the IEP is the primary tool given to you under the law to ensure your child gets an appropriate education. So this is possibly the most important step in this process. At the IEP meeting, you'll have an IEP team. This consists of the special education teacher, at least one regular education teacher, the special education liaison, you the parent, and anyone that you would like to bring with you to help represent you or to make you feel more comfortable in the meeting. If the student is 16 or turns 16 the year of the IEP meeting, the student will also be invited. Oftentimes the teacher will invite the student anyway, and you can bring your child if you'd like. You may also invite, or the school may invite, a counselor, a therapist, other teachers, or really anyone else to help this process along. At this meeting, you'll be provided again with the procedural safeguards, and the case manager should walk you through the IEP step by step, page by page, to make sure you understand everything. If you don't understand, please ask questions. Your input, again, is incredibly vital to this whole process. At the IEP meeting, you can request the addition or change of goals for the child. You can request specific accommodations if your child needs them. And you should, again, notify the IEP team of specific needs for the child, of outcomes for your child that you're looking for in the transition after high school, if your child is a high school student. Your concerns for the child's education, your child's concerns, and anything else that you might think is relevant. Even if it doesn't feel relevant, if you feel like you should say something to the team, you should do it. This will make it easier in the future to make sure that your child is placed in the most appropriate placement for the child, and make sure that you don't have to go back and try to renegotiate things. Outcomes that you may be thinking about for your child after transition after high school may include things like their daily living, about their education after high school, training such as vocational training. All of these are things to keep in mind as needed. After the meeting, you'll receive a finalized copy of the IEP. Each teacher will also receive a copy of this and will need to have it on hand when they're teaching your student to ensure that they are following the accommodations and goals in the IEP. The IEP will also include a date that service will begin. Finally, after the IEP, you'll receive a Notice of Recommended Educational Placement, or what we call a NOREP. The school must give you a NOREP. They have no choice in the matter. And you have 10 days to return the NOREP. You have the right on the NOREP form to approve, disapprove, or request a hearing. Be sure to read and be comfortable with everything in the NOREP, and be sure to return it within 10 days. If you're not comfortable, please disapprove of it, request a hearing or mediation, or contact the Public Interest Law Center. Now, what this NOREP actually is it's going to tell you where your child is going to be placed and what services the child will be provided. It must be given to you prior to any change in your child's eligibility for special education, determining what your child's disability is classified as, what services your child will receive, and what accommodations the child will receive, and where these services will be given to your child. After the IEP, the NOREP, again, must be given. It's one of the circumstances in which it must be given to you. The most important thing for you to be thinking about with this NOREP is the idea of the least restrictive environment. The law requires that your child be placed in an environment where he or she is most likely to thrive. This is called the least restrictive environment. A placement where your child's disability and needs are cared for, but where your child also is able to thrive and interact with other students. If you don't feel that your child's being placed in the least restrictive environment, again, you should disapprove of the NOREP or request a hearing or mediation, or contact the Public Interest Law Center or another advocate. If issues arise, you can convene the IEP team at any time to address your concerns. Your options when reconvening the IEP team are to revise the IEP, have them rewrite the EP from scratch, have them reevaluate your child, which again you can have done at any time you wish, but which will happen every 3 years automatically, or request a mediation or a hearing to have your concerns addressed. Generally, the mediation and hearing are if the school is not receptive to your concerns, is when you want to bring up that. Otherwise, usually you can work with the IEP team to revise or rewrite the IEP and make sure your child is getting his or her goals met, and make sure your child's in a good environment where he or she is being educated in the most appropriate way. You might want to convene the IEP team outside of the regular IEP process if your child is meeting a goal ahead of schedule or behind schedule, if your child needs an additional service or accommodation, if the transition plan for a child in high school needs to be changed based on circumstances in your family or based on your child's desires or plans for after high school, if the child is not receiving services, if the child is not making progress, or if other serious issues or concerns arise. Again, your first point of contact on this is going to be either the special education liaison at the school or the child's special ed teacher, and through them you can request the reconvening of the IEP team. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact the Public Interest Law Center. The information is listed here for you. The Public Interest Law Center is a great resource to in helping parents just like you meet their child's educational needs. Thank you.